Hi, and welcome to the Glass Beach Library. This is Mike Peaslee, and I'm just here to give you a quick run-through of some of the sounds and features that you can find in this cool little library. It's kind of similar to the Cathedral of Junk in that it's a bit of sonic tourism that we've kind of mulched and turned into an actual playable library. Glass Beach itself is a place up in Fort Bragg, California, which is about 170 miles north of the San Francisco Bay Area. And it's an old military fort that grew into a logging and fishing town right on the coast at the foot of the Redwoods. And the Glass Beach itself was an old garbage dump, the city dump, more or less, that people took their garbage to for generations. And for the most part, in the eras before plastics, so there was a lot of glass. And the dump was shut down in 1967, and they tried their best to clean it up over the years, but what they couldn't get was just the hundreds of millions, perhaps billions of little bits of glass. And just through the action of the waves and sand, all this glass was worn down into these smooth, jewel-like pebbles, all different colors, although mostly brown, green, and clear, since most bottles are more or less that color. But there were, there's other pottery and we saw some blues and purples and reds and a lot of interesting other colors. So this entire beach is basically surfaced with sea glass. You can barely see any sand or gravel through it. The surrounding beaches it's spread to as well, but they aren't quite as thick with it. But what was cool about this place was it was in a sheltered little cove with high cliffs all around it, maybe about 20, 30 foot high cliffs. So it kind of blocked out the city noise from the town and the road. And it also was kind of more isolated from people. It was kind of difficult to get to, so there weren't a lot of tourists. And then the sand itself, or the glass, had this very icy quality to it, kind of a snowy crunch. And it was even more kind of thin and crystalline when it was wet, when the waves would come in. So it sounded like sand, but there was something kind of otherworldly about it. So I recorded some ambiances and footsteps, and then also collected a few bits of the sea glass from surrounding beaches, because you're not allowed to actually take it from Glass Beach itself. And performed some basic click-style percussion with that, which is kind of cool. It's good for glitch, or even just kind of like hi-hat-like, timekeeping clicks and bleeps and blips, which you could kind of hear some of in the demo I whipped up. So I just kind of want to run through some of these sounds in Kontakt. You'll notice that Kontakt 3 is open. We programmed this thing in Kontakt 3 because it's a fairly straightforward and simple library, and we wanted it to be accessible to a lot of people, which that's why it's priced at $9.99. And but it's got a lot of our current generation of features. You can control attack for the notes. You can control swell. You control release. Basically cutting off the sustain of the note. To make them even shorter and tighter. And that's actually pretty handy for the things like the footsteps and the waves and the other sounds where you can kind of just truncate them. Offset is also really useful in that you can kind of skip forward into the sample to tighten sounds up or play from a different starting point in some of the longer sounds. And the stepping knob is basically, it's just a convenient way of stepping the whole sound of the instrument up or down in semitone intervals. And you can go up or down. Usually we have it limited to about 24 semitones. And it's pretty useful because you can automate it in neat semitone intervals. And then we've also got that tied to a set of key switches, so you can actually, if you have a whole array of effect style samples where they're not actually tuned, each sample is on a different key, but you want to play it play it melodically almost, you can use the key switches to do that while you simply play the note. So I'll get to that in a little bit. There's also our effects section where you have access to a variety of the Kontakt effects that we've kind of dialed in for this instrument. So we have EQ, a 3-band EQ, And if you want to, I mean, we give you mid frequency here. You can adjust, but if you need to adjust the low or high frequency positions or bandwidth, you'd open up, go into the insert effects, go to the EQ, edit, and then you can change the frequency or the bandwidth of the high or the low, and you'll see all the other effects here if you need to get to them. So back to the front panel. So with this instrument, we've also got our typical selection of bonus convolutions, some of them from real spaces, and some of them are actually samples from other instruments or just odd things we've made. That give a good result because the sound of the instruments pass through these convolutions, and basically the sonic properties of the convolution impulse are imparted onto the sound, which can give you some really cool effects. And then we give you all the basic parameters you're able to access there. The wet, the dry, low pass filtering, high pass filtering, delay, and then overall size of the impulse, so you can expand or contract the room size, if you want to call it a room. And then stereo effect, delay. The arpeggiator is a cool utility. It allows you to basically set up pretty complicated arpeggiations with a lot of different properties. And you kind of get into that, but it's also pretty easy to just kind of run and gun with. So let's just get into this. This is the All Glass Beach, or All Percussion Master. Not a very handy file name, but excuse me, time for coffee. It's basically all the percussion sounds all in one, easy to reach preset. So, and I got the arpeggiator on, so I can give it a quick sense of that. I'll turn that off so you can hear each individual one and hear what you're doing. Basically, on the left hand of the left side of the keyboard here, you'll see the key switches, which change the pitch. So basically, C-1 is restores it to its default pitch. You can go higher than 12, but with the knob. But when you're using the key switches, it's just up or down 12 because we didn't want to use up too much of the key range. So starting down here, we've got scrapes. There's two kinds. And then there's round robin, and we've done a lot of shaping to give it a lot of dynamic playability. And you got shakes. And then clicks. Never mind the click of my little keyboard controller in the background. That's not part of the samples. So going up the keyboard, we get into pores. And some of these are basically set up individually rather than round robin because they're all pretty unique from each other. So we want people to have a little more control where the round robin stuff is pretty consistent. So it's always, while each sample's different, it's going to behave the same way like percussion would. So I'm just going to footsteps in the... So we basically a little of everything's in this preset. And it's pretty cool. I'm definitely kind of into this very glitchy style of percussion, especially when you mix it with deeper elements, because then you can get some kind of unique stuttering effects, and these you can string together really quick. And then it's kind of cool with the arpeggiator, especially you can crank up the speed. And this is where some of these features of the arpeggiator can really come into play. You can actually draw the velocities on this table if you prefer, and you can go upwards of 32 steps, or as few as 2. And if you turn off the table velocities, then it'll just follow the velocity of the note you played. So just to give you a couple of tastes of how you might use the convolutions. Let me bump up the wetness so you can really hear it. It's kind of a sustaining convolution. Well, this is more of a single pulse. This was the stairwell at an old building we used to be at in Oakland. And parking garage. What's a good one to kind of check out? This one's kind of cool because you can get a little bit of bass out of it. Oops. And dial that back a bit. Or just let it clip. What the fuck? This one's kind of neat. It kind of lives up to its name. So you actually got quite a few. And then you hear this impulse is actually taken from the ocean itself. So basically, in a weird sense, it's using the ocean as a reverb response. So let's kick that off, and let's check out some of the other presets. Now we've kind of gotten through these. Glass Beach. Oh, I'm so unprepared. Let's dive into some of the ambiances. So this is actually the ocean itself. Peace. You can play around with pitch a little bit. It starts to get kind of an underwater feel. And then there are quite a few little sea cave from a gully that ran down to the beach. Cool thing about this is it's set up to basically behave with round robin. It's kind of hard to detect. Or if you don't want it to randomize the start position, you just flip that off, and then you have direct access to the sample offset. Or, you know, it just plays from the beginning if you have it at 0. Swell is what you'd expect. Release is what you'd expect. So you can see in the ambient preset patch, there's basically 7. And you can chop them. I mean, these are standard open format waves. So you can, for sound designers, you can just chop these up however you wish and layer them. We also, it's actually in the percussion because sort of like the footsteps, it's kind of set up that way. You have access to individual waves if you like. Where are you? There we go. Bring the offset back. You can basically put the waves wherever you want them, and then you can use the offset to skip right up to the wave. And then you can, shape it with the attack, release, and get some kind of interesting little effects. We like basically giving you as much control as we can at your finger. I mean, you can obviously dial a lot deeper in if you open up the instrument editor in Kontakt and dial into the individual settings. But we like to kind of just present it all up front so it's easy to use and automate. Speaking of automation, most of you probably know this, but when you want to automate any of these knobs, just right-click it. Select Learn CC Automation, and then move your controller, and it'll assign whichever one you move. And I just happen to move. Which one did I move? 74. So that's that little preset. There are in the percussion set there are 7 presets, including the waves, footsteps, grain bounce, grain hit, grain scrape, grain shake and pour. And in the ambiances, there are 9, including a light version of the main all-in-one patch that doesn't have the offset functionality. Because obviously, if you need access to the sample start offset, you have to provide for that in RAM, which means, generally speaking, for any longer samples, you need to use the sampler mode to use offset. And then the effects patches, this is actually where the library gets a lot of its usability, where you can create kind of whole songs and textures out of it. This is the Babbler. This is Donkey Punch. Don't ask why I named it that. Oops. And if you don't need the stepping key switches, you can always turn them off so that they don't get in the way. down the drain. This is just spookiness. This glass piano, and this is actually kind of a weird thing. I guess it's sort of cheating. What it did was took a grand piano sounds, and then basically processed them through the ocean and back again, and then back again, and then back again. Basically just mulched them all up, just kind of get an interesting ebb and flow. And he's looping definitely. Check out Sad Times. Still a little bit of a texture. It's confusing. Scary. Singing Sewer. Sparky, the percussion one. What is that? This one's a stretch glass organ. This one actually, you can also use the mod wheel to add a little subtle tremolo. Gotta get that out. And here's Sinner. water bow. This is kind of back to the piano a little bit. Let's see, number 2. What an old church organ sound. Four. And 5. Jacked up bagpipe almost. That effect's caused by kind of it's right on kind of a line where Kontakt can't quite understand the pitch, I think, that it's dealing with. It's using the time machine. And that's all of them. So there's a total of 31 instrument presets in the library. It's basically a little of everything. And just a cool new set of flavors to play with. And hope you have fun with it. And we'll talk to you soon.